Before we get into it, I just want to let you know in the next video I'll be reshimming all 4 shocks, as well as swapping out the shims and the adjusters. I'll also be rolling in some footage from Skalkaho Pass and Gravelly Range Road out in Montana. In this video, I'm just going to be verifying the piston type, getting a feel for what it's like to disassemble and reassemble the shocks, as well as refill it with nitrogen. If you would, like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you enjoy the content. Hey everyone, we're back on the King 2.5 coilover suspension upgrade for my 2018 F-150. In the previous video, I had just bought in the front coilovers, installed them, and went out west and did a bit of a review on them. Since then, it's been about a year, and I just got the rears in, so we're going to be taking these apart and having a look, and I got a bit of a story as to why we're doing that. I think if you're going to be getting some of these for your Toyota or whatever, or your Ford, you're going to want to listen in. So have a seat and let's go. So after I got back from my last trip out west, I called up the guy I bought these, well, the front coilovers from, and let him know that I thought they were way too harsh on washboards, potholes, small rocks. It was just absolutely as bad as the stock suspension. I told him I thought it was way oversprung and probably had too much damping on compression. I let him know I was looking for some assistance in getting some softer springs as well as a shim stack that might lessen the dampening on compression. He was absolutely not having it. I tried a bunch of different ways to convince him that the ride was just way too harsh, but I guess he feels that Kings are just like that. What are we at? About 100 pounds? Just a little over 100. Anyways, after a good 45 minutes of trying to make my case and asking for some assistance, he said the shocks or the springs that I wanted, he didn't have them in stock and he'd have to order them from King. And really didn't give me any help on what shims I could put in the thing. So I kind of ended the call there, and I guess I just was left frustrated. Didn't know what to do at that point. So I got on the internet and did a whole bunch of research. There is a lot of consensus out there that for an F-150, these things are generally pretty stiff, pretty rough riding. What's going on? There we go. So anyways, I came across this place and I was going to buy some rear shocks. And they had told me that what I needed to do was they would end up revalving them for me, but inside of these, they have a digressive valve from the factory. Here's the thing. I had talked to King and I got the part number that they said these came with. And that wasn't jiving with what AccuTune was telling me. So anyways, that's why we're taking this apart, to see if there's a digressive valve in here. I have not had these open since I unboxed them. And I guess the next step, we'll be having a look in here and seeing what kind of valve or what kind of piston's inside of it. I think it's absolutely strange that the manufacturer would tell you it comes with one kind of piston and the distributor would tell you it comes with another kind of piston. So I honestly do not know who to believe. I got an email from both of them saying different things. Anyways, I want to get to the bottom of this. I ended up buying these directly from King because Boone wanted me to pay an extra $100 to have these put in. And I decided that I wanted to do it myself. Here's the other thing with these. That's a little screw that holds that in. Here's the other thing with these is it's kind of a secret sauce, the shim stacks that go in these. And nobody really wants to give you their secret sauce. I asked if I could buy a shim stack that they would be putting in here. They wouldn't do it. They could sell me shims. We're gonna need a hammer. But they definitely would not give me their secret sauce. Oh yeah, need to check that piston depth. Pull this snap ring off. And I've never done this before, so we're learning together. See if I can get this out without scraping up the piston. Huh. Don't want to scrape it, but I want it out. There. Think we got it. There it is. So anyways, I ended up ordering these directly from King. And amazingly, they were really helpful as far as, this is kind of hard to get out. What do I need? I need something to pry on. Be right back. This is a special piece of pine with a bit of paint on it. Special tool from King. There it is. All right, let's have a look down here. That's pretty cool. No oil. Next, we'll measure how far down that goes. I'm just going to use a tape measure. It looks like we are 5 1/8 to the top of the piston, the rim around the outside. 5 1/8. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah. So I talked to King on the phone, and they were willing to give up a whole bunch of secret sauce. Ended up getting some guidance on shims I can change out. They sold me some shims, they sold me some oil. I bought the springs and then these rear shocks. And the only reason I'm looking in here is, like I said, because of AccuTune's email where they said that this was a digressive piston. I definitely don't want a digressive piston. You can look it up. It's just not the kind of valving I want on my truck. Don't get me wrong, those front coilovers I currently have on there are awesome on like rollers and dips and stuff like that when you're really flying. Ugh. Way better than stock. The only problem I have is when I'm going through chop. It's just absolutely violent. Everything vibrates off the dash. The truck skips over the top. It's kind of loses traction if you're on a turn. All I'm trying to do is lighten up the dampening when you're hitting potholes, rocks, washboards, things like that. Because I don't do a whole lot of 80-mile-per-hour desert rips. I just don't. Most of what I'm doing is logging roads, doing anywhere from 10 to 30 miles per hour. And I just want to have a little bit better user experience. Hopefully it won't really affect the top end too much. Like I said, for doing really big whoops and stuff like that. But I don't do that. My truck never has, I never will. So it's really important to me to fine tune going through chop. But yeah, it's been quite a strange experience being all new to this stuff. I've always wanted shocks that I could maintain, if you will. Essentially the ability to rebuild them. And changing the valving wouldn't hurt either. That will be cool. But at the same time, you can really screw things up. But I don't think I'm going to. I've talked to a few of the folks at King, and I'm pretty confident the changes I'm making. I'm essentially going down. I figured I was 300 pounds oversprung total. So I went from, on the front, I went from 600s down to 550s for the springs. And then I'm also going to change the high-speed dampening just a little bit on the compression. But we'll get into that later. Right now, I just want to see what this piston looks like. I'm going to push down on the reservoir a little bit and see if I can't get this thing to pop out. Oh, there it comes. Let's see. I'm trying to do this without getting oil everywhere. I'm going to pull you out a little bit so you can see the clown show. There we go. All right. If that's like a yellow-green piston in there, I'm not going to be happy with King. Thing is, I would buy from all these people again. I totally get why they are so secretive about all their stuff. It's, you know, it's their livelihood. But good Lord, if a guy wants to give you some money for a shim stack, frickin' take it. I don't feel like sending my shocks halfway across the country to do something I'm perfectly capable of. Now, I don't have all the experience with tuning. Ugh. All right. I'm going to figure out a better way to lift this out of here. It is giving me trouble. Okay, I'm just going to keep going, and I'll rant while I'm doing this. But, where was I? Oh, yeah. Secret sauce and all that stuff. I just want my truck to ride better, and I don't want to send my shocks halfway across the country in the mail. And that's usually what you pretty much got to do. Granted, if I lived out in California or had someone close to me, that'd be a whole different thing. Oh, that does not want to come out of there. Let's try physics and see if that works instead of just brute force. I'm going to push down on the piston in the reservoir and push down on the shaft. Let's see if this thing comes up. Ooh, that works. Wow. Hydraulic pressure, who knew? It's pulling it back down again. Need to fill up the reservoir a little more. And hopefully it'll pop out. There it comes. Beep, 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 beep. Gusher. That's life. Spilled a little bit of oil. Okay, moment of truth. Let's pull that thing out and have a look. Without getting oil everywhere, I knew I should have sprung for that little cup that goes around the shock. Here we go. Trying to force it into the reservoir. I don't think it's going to happen though. Not without the retainer. Maybe I can do that. Let's just keep going up. There we go. And that is not a digressive piston. I wonder what AccuTune thinks about that. All right, I'll take you over to the bench. We'll have a look at this thing. All right, that is definitely not a digressive piston. I am going to pull the shims, write down what I got in case I need to make changes. I've got a list from King, but I just want to verify that the valving is what they say it is, or at least I have a record of the valving so I know what to order if I want to make some changes. All right, in this orientation, the compression here is on the bottom, rebounds on the top. All right, I'm going to take the whole thing over to the bench. And there we go. Not digressive. Here we are, all taken apart. The shims are exactly what King said they were going to be. Got a little flutter thing going on here. That's kind of cool. So I made my notes. Now I'm just going to throw it back together. All right, let's put it back together. Nice and slow. So I've cycled it a bunch of times. the floating piston and the regular piston. And I'm going to fill it up to, consensus is fill it up right to the snap ring groove. All right, time to put the retainer in. All of the air out.
There, finally got it.
There. All right, retainer clip. That should pop the retainer up. There it is. Tighten that bad boy down. Just gonna snug that for now. Check that height one more time. Looks good. Snap ring. And we're in. Tighten down the valve stem. Here we go. So I ended up buying a nitrogen tank and regulator, made up my own hose. These no-loss chucks. The cheaper ones, don't buy them. There's no such thing as no loss at cheaper prices, apparently. We're actually on to the other shock. I aired up the other one already. Going with 150 PSI. These things, they're not too bad. I ended up having to take this one apart because it was leaking. Really don't know what I fixed, but it stopped leaking after taking it apart. There's probably a million different ways to do this. This is how I do it. Make sure these are both open. I just snug those up. I don't know if you have to do that or not. And I will bring you in for a close-up on the pressure. Shooting for 150. It's a little bit off. I'll live. There we are. Got both of them filled.